Okay, welcome back. This is our teaching about David's continual and the abomination of desolation. Turn please to Daniel chapter 9, beginning at verse 24 through 27. Reading from the NASB, it says, 70 weeks have been decreed for your people and your holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to make atonement for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Look at the word place. It's in italics. It's not there in the Hebrew. Verse 25. So you are to know and discern that from the issuing of a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It will be built again with plaza and moat, even in times of distress. Then after the 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing, and the people of the Prince who is to come will destroy the city and sanctuary, and its end will come with a flood. Even to the end there will be war. Desolations are determined. And he will make a firm covenant with the many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offering, and on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate, even until a complete destruction that is decreed is poured out on the one who makes desolate. Okay, so this has been talked about a lot in the last days. Most teachers of eschatology will give a shot at this and trying to understand it, and I'm no better than they. I've learned from them all. I'm just going to give you my version and what I understand so far at this time. Okay, 70 weeks. This is weeks of years. Weeks of years. Okay, 70 weeks of years have been decreed for your people, your holy city, to finish the transgression, make an end of sin, to make atonement for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. All right, this is talking about Jerusalem, Israel was banished to Babylon for 70 years. When Cyrus gave the decree to rebuild Jerusalem, and the Jews, Ezra and others, came back and they began rebuilding the city, it was in two trips. It happened twice. The first command and then the second command. The first command came and it lasted for 7 weeks of years, 49 years. And then the second command came. So this is interesting. It's 483 years from the command to rebuild Jerusalem and the temple. It came in 2 parts, 7 weeks of years, and then the second command came, where a lot more money was allocated to building up the walls of Jerusalem and to make the temple beautiful again. And so it happened in 2 stages, 7 weeks of years, and then the second stage, 62 weeks of years unto Messiah and the sacrifice of Messiah. The sacrifice of Christ brought about atonement. It brought about to seal up the vision. What does that mean? That is the visions God had given all of the lawmakers, given Moses, given all the lawmakers of the coming Christ. The vision that was first given to our mother Eve, where the Lord said, one of your offspring will cause a redemption of you and all of mankind and allow you to come back into the garden, into the presence of God. That was the vision. The vision was for the coming of the Messiah. It had been ever since the fall of man, the 6th day or 9th day of creation. Prophecy. Well, Moses was the greatest prophet until Christ, but then look at Elijah. And they all prophesied of the coming Messiah. Look at Isaiah. Fantastic prophecies of the coming Messiah. And so to seal them up means to fulfill them. Till they're all fulfilled. 300 some prophecies concerning the suffering Christ were fulfilled by Jesus in just 3.5 years. Isn't that amazing? You can't do that statistically if you tried to do it on purpose. And it was just life being lived fulfilled it with Christ, because it was all part of the plan of God. So you know and discern from the issuing of a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem till Messiah the Prince, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It'll be built again with plaza even in times of distress, because while they were rebuilding it, their neighboring countries attacked them and tried to stop them from the work. So they had a sword in one hand, and in the other hand they were moving rocks. This was fulfilled, the 69 weeks of Daniel were fulfilled to the day of the triumphal entry of Christ, when he rode in on a donkey. Isn't that amazing? When he came in as Messiah, the 69 weeks of years were fulfilled. Boom. And then right after that, they crucified him. They crucified him. There's 1 week left. 1 week of years. Isn't that amazing? 7. So, when did the 7 begin? Let's look for hints. Verse 26 says, after 62 weeks, that is the 7 weeks have already happened, then 62 on top of it, 69 total. Messiah will be cut off and have nothing. In other words, he won't have any progeny. Now, this exposes the lie of the royals in Europe. Not just the royals in England, they were all related. The royals in Tsarist Russia, in France, in Germany, they were all related. They were all cousins. And they were all claiming to be descendants of Christ and Mary Magdalene. And that's why they claimed royal blood, holy blood, magic blood. See, that's why they claimed the right to wear the purple robes. And they held that over the people. And the people thought, our king is magic. And that's why to this day, people that were associated with the king and queen, it became a cult. And to this day, people in Canada, some of my wife's relatives and others will almost worship the royalty. Because there's a side of them that feels like they're holy. No, they're not. No, they're not. They fooled everybody into making them permanent kings and queens. That's all it was. Christ had nothing. He had no progeny. He had no one. The word nothing literally is no one. He didn't have any children. He didn't get married. Him and Mary Magdalene did not produce a child. He will have no one, and the people of the prince who is to come will destroy the city and sanctuary. That was the Romans. The people of Rome came and destroyed the city and the sanctuary. 70 AD. And they literally had the slaves push over all the stones so that not one stone was on top of another. It says its end will come with a flood, even to the end. There will be war. Desolations are determined. Yes, Josephus writes that so many Jews were slaughtered by the Roman soldiers that their blood running through the streets put fires out. There was a flood of blood. You've never seen warfare till you see warfare with swords. If you think warfare with guns and bullets are terrible, which it is, any war is terrible. You haven't seen warfare with swords, because most people their limbs are cut off. They're not dead. They're laying there screaming and bleeding out. and every bit of blood in them gets pumped out into the streets. So there is a flood of blood washing down the streets. It's terrible. It's terrible. Verse 27, and he there is referring back to the people of the prince, or the prince, will make a firm covenant with the many, that is the many enemies of Israel, for 1 week. So the last week. So the last week of years. So this is very interesting because we know it was the Romans that destroyed Jerusalem. So it's going to be the Romans again. That's why every Left Behind movie you've ever seen always shows, oh, the Antichrist is a Roman. And what's the most recent version of that? He's from Romania. Why Romania? Well, Romania is the ancient retirement country for faithful Roman soldiers. That's why it's called Romania, and why their language is Latin. It's like the language of the Romans. It's a version of that. So is this going to be a Roman, or is it going to be, this is the leader, is it going to be someone with a Romanish government? It's a Roman government. So what country on the face of the earth still has a Roman-style government? Well, there's one. It's the United States. We're the only ones with a Roman-style government. No one else has it. We're it. And so the prince of the Roman government will make a firm covenant with the many enemies of Israel for 1 week or 7 years, but in the middle of the week he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offering. Okay, so stop. This is very interesting. In the middle of the week, so 3.5 years in, something's going to happen. The sacrifice will stop, and an abomination that causes desolation will be set up. So people are going to say, see, there must be a third temple made with hands. And I say, no, there isn't. And I'll show you why. Probably at the next video. Let me just end with this. Let me just give you a moment here with this. It says that he will make a firm covenant with the many for 1 week. So, this is what the church has always been looking for. Has a firm covenant been established between our government here, the United States government, and Israel and its many enemies? Yes, only one. Only one in which the enemies of Israel all came together and made a covenant, which the United States, it cost us billions of dollars. How did we make it a firm covenant? We bribed both sides. We gave Israel billions and we gave its enemies billions in order to sign the peace covenant. That peace covenant the church recognized happened right here. Right here. And this is the peace treaty between Yitzhak Rabin, Yasser Arafat, also known as the Little Horn, and Bill Clinton. And as I've said before, notice something. Arafat always made his headdress in the shape of a horn, because there is an Arab prophecy about him, that he would be the horn of Islam that would destroy the Jews. But the man himself physically was very, very short. He was only 4 feet something. He was so short, he always stood on a box when he was next to other dignitaries, so he wouldn't look like, he was that short. So he's standing on a box right here. That's why you never see his feet. They never take pictures of his feet because he's standing on a box. And even then, even standing on the box, he's still so short that he's way shorter than Yitzhak Rabin, and Bill Clinton is towering over him. If he wasn't standing on that box, he'd be up to here on him, just about right here. He's that short. So the Arabs call him the little horn of Islam. He literally fulfills prophecy. Isn't that amazing? So how can he, the little horn of Islam, fulfill the scripture and become the abomination that causes desolation since he's dead? We'll talk about that on the very next video. Lord bless you.